party?
Where's the function?
Where the fuck the function? Where the fuck the function?
Success doesn't really interest me anymore. It's too easy. Analysis plus capital plus execution. Fucking anyone can do that.
So in my second year of university, I really wanted to get an internship, and so I was grinding leak code and I was applying to a bunch of different companies. I was even applying in October 2020, and this is during COVID, and I was literally applying to every single role that I could find. And one of the websites I was using was called AngelList, and generally it just has like startups and small companies, but I was genuinely applying for any job that I could find. So I was applying to that, and I applied to one of these companies, and they sent me a take-home task, which was to use React Native and Expo to build it like a very simple application. And so yeah, I built that. It was basically you had to enter in a number, and then it would show a polygon with that number of sides. It was really hard for me to do because, you know, I had no React Native experience, and there weren't any AI tools at the time like ChatGPT or Cursor, so I didn't have any help like that. But in the end, I managed to do it. I sent it to them, and then they invited me to the next round, which was a leak code challenge. It was actually a leak code hard problem, and I wasn't able to do it at all, but I still tried my best. You know, I explained my thought process and things like that. And in the end, I actually passed that one as well, apparently. At this point, I was already like, huh, what's going on? How am I passing these interviews? But okay. I then had a chat with the CEO, and even here, I fumbled massively. He asked me, you know, a very basic question, you know, the classic, tell me about yourself. And I genuinely started with, I was born in 1999, and I started talking about my childhood, and it's like, this is not what they want to hear. They want to hear about my actual experience, but I didn't have any at the time. But I still, you know, just talked about what got me into tech and things like that. And then somehow I got an email back saying, hey, you have the offer, you have the job. And I was really excited, but I was also a bit confused because I was like, wow, I was really bad in this process. How the hell did I still get the job? Anyways, we get to the first day and they're doing the onboarding. So this was all remote because it was COVID at the time. And so they used Skype, which was a bit weird. I was like, what the hell? They're using Skype? That's like kind of what I used to use as well. But even I at that time was already off Skype. Everyone's using Discord or something else. Funnily enough, I actually even brought that up to the CEO. I was like, hey, maybe you guys should use Discord instead. And I actually made a Discord channel and invited the CEO to it so that he could check it out. But he didn't end up using it. They then invited me to their GitHub and their Google Drive so that I had all of their documents and code. And then they also introduced me to the rest of the team. And I realized instantly that everyone was foreign and not based in the UK, which was a bit weird, but I was like, okay, fair enough. There was also another intern who was based in Poland, but he was quite cool. You know, we would chat on Discord as well, but he also had no experience. I say this as if like I was there for a while. You know, this is all going to wrap up in a few hours. You know, I just met these people, and in a few hours, I'm never going to talk to them again. I then checked out the code, and that's when I decided I probably wanted to quit that day. The code quality was just atrocious. You know, keep in mind, I was a React noob. I didn't even know like TypeScript or anything like that. But even I could tell that that code was horrible. You know, there was unbelievable levels of like nesting of components. Their root component was genuinely over 5,000 lines long. It was unbelievable. At this point, I was feeling very weary about this internship. You know, it was unpaid, and I wasn't sure I was even going to learn anything from this, because that was kind of why I took it. I was like, you know, maybe I'll learn something from being at a real company. I thought about it, and I decided that I would just be better off working on my own projects and applying to other roles. So that same day, I sent a Skype message to the CEO and told him that I wanted to quit. And he was like, hey, let's hop on a call. I was quite nervous, but like, yeah, we had a chat. I was like, hey man, I feel bad for wasting your time and, you know, your people's time. You know, I wasted your time with the interviews and the onboarding. But I was just like, I'm very busy with university. I don't have the time to commit to this company. He was very disappointed, but in the end he understood, like, there's nothing he can do. He's not even paying me, so there's no reason for me to stay. Like, I could just ignore him and it would be fine. I even sent an email after, you know, apologizing for wasting their time, and I'll show that on the screen right now. Looking back at it, it's kind of funny because, you know, it was an unpaid internship. I owe them nothing, and I wasn't going to get anything out of it anyways. But at the same time, I do actually think I did learn something. You know, I learned that my time is valuable, and I shouldn't waste it on companies that aren't going to pay me or, you know, give me any value out of them. So definitely made me more cognizant and set a higher standard for where I would want to work for next. In the end, I'm really glad that I understood that my time was more valuable than this random unpaid internship. And so I just kept on grinding leak code and projects and kept on applying. And in the end, I actually ended up getting 4 internship offers from actual big companies. And, you know, I was able to then choose 2 of those that I ended up doing. And that put me on a really great trajectory to get other job offers after that. But yeah, that's the story of my 6-hour internship where I spent basically more time interviewing for the internship than actually doing it. I'd love to hear about your first drop tech role or your first job experiences and if they were as goofy as mine.